So imagine, let's go back years ago. One of the first portable game consoles you ever have is a Game Boy Advance. First one you ever purchased responsible for. The first one you got to take care of. But you got your Need for Speed or a Game Boy Advance Gundam game. But outside of that, outside of your older sister's original Game Boy, you really don't got too many games, right? A few years go by, you get a DS, and the games in the DS, outside of Mario or some other first party, Mario, Zelda, or Mario Kart, anything outside of that is probably not going to be a good game, at least in my opinion. So the few games you do get, you can never look back on them like, boy, those are great games. Those are fantastic. Outside of the DS Frogger, there's no like Nintendo DS or DSi game that was just like, wow, I can't wait to play that again. So then, a few years later, your family ain't some rich family, but but you're not poor or anything. You always have everything you need, right? So it is what it is. So then a few years go by, and you finally, after some time, you get a PSP. And boy, with the few games you're able to get, because you only get 2 things out the year, Prince of Persia, Assassin's Creed Bloodline, GTA Chinatown, Twisted Metal, Metal Gear Solid, or Transformers. You had like a decent selection, not including movies like 7 Seconds, Terminator. One of the best features of PSP is the availability of being able to buy these movies and watching subtitles and all. So that's pretty much your ideal of what a portable console is. You can fit it into your pockets. Outside of first-party games, you do have a decent selection of games, whether it's a port like Prince of Persia or original like Twisted Metal Head On. There are games outside of just playing those, right? So then, the first PSP breaks, you get another one, and it got a camera on it. You can record video, you can do all these things on it. You can hold up these cards and play this video game on it. It was great. The zooming on games, it was a great experience, right? Great time. So then, 2012 shows up, and Sony announces the PlayStation Vita. A console that you've never seen before. For the first time, it's a portable console that can fit into your pocket with 2 joysticks, and it could be an endless possibility, right? Endless. Assassin's Creed, portable. You can control the camera. Liberation. I gotta play that. So finally, only get 2 things out the year, right? Birthdays and Christmas. You're gonna get a PSP Vita. It was gonna be great. It was gonna be extra. Your mother gets it to get you Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation, and you put the game in there. No memory card. Oh yes, boys and girls. No memory card at all. Meaning I can't play the game. So I had a console for a whole week. That was just a brick. Outside of watching YouTube on it, it was a whole brick. But after that, get the memory card, able to play it. Years go by, you're excited. You can see first-person shooters. Black Ops Classified, you're able to pick up Need for Speed, Ninja Gaiden, Mortal Kombat, Injustice, all these games, first party, port, third party, so many options, right? And then you get informed out of nowhere that PlayStation is no longer going to support the console. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. We just got one of the best video games ever on the console, Killzone Mercenaries. Got Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. And some other decent games or ports. I don't understand why. And the console's just dead. It is what it is. I had my PS Vita over 10, 11 years by this point. Still works, still plays. Still got all the memories and things tied up into it. But overall, the PS Vita was always a solid console. It was always a console with so much more potential. But like the PlayStation president said recently, they just didn't want to dedicate time to finishing up the PS3, then moving on to the PS4. So ironically, if they would have held back the Vita to the PS4 release, it probably would have got more support long term, right? But that game is over. That died. Like, Killzone Mercenaries came out like what? 2013, 14? Was it too long after? And you get your first big premiere game where it's just like, this thing is great. It uses the graphics to the maximum capabilities. It can do all these things. You can play old PS1 games like Medieval 1 or 2 or Street Fighter or even PSP games with Mortal Kombat or Naruto and Ninja Storm or GTA Chinatown or even Bloodlines. You can buy like a whole bunch of games, which ties into the memory card issue, but that's for a discussion later. So after all this, right, pretty much any competition to Nintendo in a portable console market is dead. Xbox don't got anything. Sony has thrown in the towel. But why? The PSP sold well. Well, just because the PSP sold well, it wasn't competing with Nintendo like they wanted to, and that with the combination of releasing the PlayStation Vita with the front and bust touchscreen, making it like 250 at that time period, it is what it is. I say it's a great console with a lot of missed potential. Sure, a bunch of indie guys still release games for it, but you know, at that point, when Sony stopped providing support for it, it was dead. It is what it is. Shed no tears about it. Life goes on. I still hold the console. I'm still like I recently played Revelations from the PlayStation Store. So why don't you mod your PS Vita? I put it to you like this. Before we get to the Switch subject, the reason why I never modded or did anything with my PlayStation Vita is because once I tried the PSP, right? Never claimed to be a genius. I'm not some type of high-class engineer, but I can work myself with computers, right? But it never worked. Never did. Anytime they say, oh, you know, you could do this or that. Like early YouTube, current YouTube, two different things. And you know, a kid who just only can get so much at a certain period of time. You know, you want to try your options to get something extra, get something free. It never worked. No matter how many websites, no matter how many videos, no matter how many so and so, you could just do this and that. It never worked. So with that experience, why would I ever jailbreak my like I buy a jailbroken PS Vita, do it myself? It's not even worth it, man. It's really not even worth it. So then, 2016 happens, and Nintendo's going to release a brand new console, the successor to the Wii U, the follow-up to the Wii. It's going to be this big ordeal. It's the next big ordeal, right? And they announced the Switch, and it's going to be a portable and a stationary console at the same time. I was like, why? But whatever, right? I probably not gonna buy it anyway. I already got a PS Vita 1 year. Then the next year got like a PS4. Just you know, I was pretty much satisfied. You know, that announced Zelda. They announced, of course, a brand new Mario. The usual first-party classics, right? You gotta get them in there with that. And then Switch comes out, got the Joy-Con issues. Why? And then like the Switch is so fucking big, you can't fit that shit in your pocket. It's not a portable console. I'm sick of people trying to put. It's not a portable console. Portable, you can put into your pocket. On which most phones aren't portable. Them big ass, damn near small mini telescreen screens that y'all be putting in your purses and bags. Those aren't phones. Those are tablets that just called phones. A phonelet, whatever you want to call it. But those on the phone. It's supposed to be portable. It's supposed to be put into your pocket. It's supposed to be on the go. And you can never do that with a Switch. But that's whatever, right? My own personal, what you prefer is whatever, right? Because I grew up with the DS. I always wanted like a 3DS eventually, you know, to switch it up, have something other than the PS Vita. Especially when I got like high school, something like that. But I was never just, well, you know, I just really needed that, right? Still buying Transformers and stuff, so it is what it is. So then the Switch comes out. Then there's Joy-Con issues that they never fix. Okay. And then, alright, we got these two first-party games, and then after that, it's port. Look, damn it, God almighty. Like, why is everything a fucking port on this console? And it's not even a good port. Now, you can say some of the early ports are good, but this is not like a GameCube to PS2 or the Xbox situation. This is more or less a PS2 to PS4 type of thing, where it doesn't compare to the mainstream console. So if you already got a PS4 or Xbox One, why buy a Switch to buy the same game? You could just buy a better game at home. But you could take it portable. And I'm sorry, like most people don't be taking things portable like that. Like I do. Like I take the Vita somewhere or for a trip. Most people in my entire life, 4 years plus high school, and like that Job Corps thing, right? I've probably seen like 5 to 6 people have a Switch. I'm not the only person who has a Vita who everybody think it's a PSP. That's whatever, right? But the years go on with the Switch, right? When it finally gets its groove, first party support, getting all these extra things, and the Switch never got better. The whole motion control thing, just throw that shit right out the window. Why you need that? Why you need that? Motion controls. This ain't the Wii. Okay then, so what's some exclusive games it's gonna have. That you know, just like the Wii had some exclusive games. You know, you had No More Heroes. You had that Mad Worker. You had some exclusives, House of the Dead. You know, so what's got the game the Switch gonna get? None. Anything you can buy on the Switch, you can get that shit on the PS4 and Xbox One. Why? Why? And then the port you do get, not gonna be 60 frames. It's not gonna keep up. At least the Vita had an excuse to be made of old technology. The Switch came out 3 years later. Still struggling. Have you not seen the Outer Worlds on that console? Have you not seen many other games before MK1 on that console? But we're gonna get a Switch port though. Doesn't even play as well. But that was like my initial gripes. Now, somebody said, what point does it turn to hatred with me in the Switch? It turned to the hatred like a few years in, when I didn't really do anything in the console. When Nintendo showed that they were just going to be complacent and not really compete no more, and just take ports and secondhand things. And outside of Nintendo, outside of like Mario Kart, Zelda, and Mario, they were not going to try with anything else at all. Everything else is going to be some watered down port, and that is it. No extra fitness stuff, no none. Which I could never understood because the Wii U, which is marketed wrong, right? It looked too much like the Wii, and most people didn't tell the difference between the two. So most people are thinking it's just an extra accessory, and it's not. You kind of shot yourself in the foot. I can't say for the Japanese numbers, or certain American ones. I think outside of one person, I've never heard of anybody owning a 3DS. So there's that. But the Wii, the reason why I hold the Wii in such high regard is it had everything. It had the games, had the fitness stuff. It was a game you could bring in there with the family. It was great. Everybody can play in a chip in and play Wii U or Wii Sports. Switch, not so much. So you take away that family aspect of it, and you sit down on the games of the console. Outside of Mario Kart and Zelda and Metroid, what does the console have? It has nothing besides from ports. It's the same old shit. The same. And they don't have an excuse like the Vita. This is Nintendo's primary console. This is what they premier console. The only portable competitor. And that's it. It didn't get even better. Well, we got the Joy-Cons, but now we're going to release another version of the Switch with the Joy-Cons built in. Then why the fuck did you design the goddamn thing with the Joy-Cons in the first place if you're just going to remove them in the future editions? What was the point? That's wasting money. That's a waste of money. It's like that stupid crap Nintendo did with the 3DS where we're going to release a 3DS, then a 2DS. Why? And the 2DS don't even fucking fold up. Why? Why? Not including the fact the failed 3D feature of the 3DS, which really didn't work until they had to re-release another version where you can actually turn the screen and look at it properly. Why? And the reason why, the penultimate reason of why I fucking hate the Switch, because it's the epitome of Nintendo's laziness and proof that they don't have to do anything. They don't have to compete. They don't have to be innovative. They don't have to change the wave or introduce motion control. Because a lot of people hate motion controls for some apparent reason. But I guess mine was the only family that would, you know, play Just Dance with each other, play Wii Sports, play Wii Splay. You know, on the weekends and Friday, we'd all get together as a family and play these. I guess Maya is the only family that played the games where the motion controls works. They even work with No More Heroes. So it's like I don't understand. But of course, you know what time it is, boys and girls. Because one idiot says it, we all believe it. But yeah, that really fed into. You go from the Wii to the Wii U, which was just managed wrong, to the Switch, where it's a portable console, but it's not. You got all these other things, but it's also not those things. You want to say it's powerful enough to compete with the PS4 and Xbox One, but it can not compete with the PS4 and Xbox One. And most definitely can't compete with the PS4 or Xbox Series X. So you already got a console that's a year behind. That came out 3 years later than the other two premier consoles. And the best you get is a bunch of first-party games that you already played, which most of them are just ports from the fucking Wii U. All of them are just ports from the Wii U. So how many exclusive games does the Switch actually have? Breath of the Wild, Odyssey, Metroid Dread, and I guess Pikmin, that's it. Name some other shit that's not just a port. And some might say, why, like before, some recent discourse, the reason why the port thing is irritating, A port should not be half of your lifespan. Like, the Switch don't have an excuse of being discontinued like a 2 to 3 years into its release. It's been on like 5, 6 years now, and the best you still got is some ports that's not really comparable to the original. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. This went on for like years, and like Carl was, you know what time it is. The Nintendo bros always gonna suck it up because Nintendo is a pimp, and they know the audience. They know they don't gotta try. They know they can just put out anything. They know they don't gotta compete or do anything. Did you not see the graphics of No More Heroes 3 on the Switch? That was embarrassing. Embarrassing. With some graphics that looks worse than the Vita. How is that possible? This is your premier console. Why does No More Heroes look that bad? And we had dummies in the comic section trying to say and give an excuse to that. There is no excuse for why a first party Nintendo game was funding the fucking game for it to look that bad. But of course, there's always the excuse. There's always but. So originally, that's all it was. I was never a fan of the Switch. I never liked it. And I kind of hated it because it could have been more. There never was a PS Vita versus Switch rivalry because the Vita was dead by the time the Switch shows up. So that's not really a rivalry. It's really just a Nintendo thing, how it allowed them to be lazy and not really do anything and survive off of ports and first-party games. There's only so many times you can re-release the same Mario Kart and Mario Party. Mario Kart got DLC up till the fucking Switch 2 release. Why? Why? You could just make another fucking game. Now some might say it's practical since the Wii U didn't, do the numbers they wanted. They was gonna port a bunch of stuff over to the Switch. Yeah, that would make sense if the Switch came out 2 years after the 3DS. The Switch came out 4 years after the 3DS. Not 3DS, the Wii U. Give or take. 4 years. And now, some recent things that's agitated me, besides, we're going to overprice the Switch 2, we're going to charge $80 to $90. Why? And why are Nintendo fans so brain dead and keeps like it really ties back to Nintendo. My hatred for the Switch comes from Nintendo because Nintendo don't have an excuse. There is no competition. There is nobody else in the portable market to compete with them or even try. The PlayStation Portal is not going to work because why buy that when I can just buy a joystick for my phone? Why? Why? But it could play current games. I could play a PS4 game on the Vita by remote play. You forgot about that? I haven't forgot about that. So, because it's the PS5, it's going to make it better. How am I gonna fit this thing in my fucking pocket? I shouldn't need a bag to take my portable console portable. Why can't I just put it in my pocket? Only time I should need a bag is when I want to bring like more than like a few games. So why need a whole big ass carrying case for it? Why? Why? And it's supposed to be portable. Why? This goes into the memory card thing. The memory card issue was a good and bad thing. The good thing was most games, when you actually buy the physical card copy of the game, right, it didn't take up much space. So you can have like a laundry list of games. You just need to bring the cartridge for it. Bad part is it just say your local Walmart or GameStop don't sell PS Vita games like that. Can't sell the Marvel vs. Capcoms or all these other games, right, that you wanted, or Black Ops or Call of Duty or so and so. Then you're just stuck with, well, you can buy them online. Problem is that's like 3 gigabytes. And a $20 card is only 4 gigabytes. For $20, 4 gigabytes. That's one full game. Or a bunch of PSP games, or like Nuclear throwing the hotline me at. And then what happens if in your local area that you can't even find the 32 gigabytes? That sometimes work and sometimes don't. That you can't even find the 64 gigabytes. Then you're just screwed. Like, I've never been oblivious to the shortcomings and the problem. Yes, Borderlands 2 does have a frame rate issue. I still play it. But some other games don't. Ninja Gaiden don't got no problems. Batman don't got no problems. Many other games, Injustice, Mortal Kombat, don't really have frame rate problems like that. I've never been oblivious to the shortcomings of the Vita. But you know who does? Anybody who supports the Switch. And some might say, well, I've seen multiple slow individuals make videos about the Vita, about how much of a failure it is, and why would I buy this console when I can just buy it on anything else? Isn't that the entire career of the Switch? If you already had a Wii U, why buy it on the Switch? If it's just a port of a PS4, PS1, Xbox One game, why buy a Switch? When you bought those two consoles before you bought a Switch, the only reason you will buy a port on the Switch is just to take it portable or to fill out your Switch category because you don't got anything else to buy them. Outside of those two reasons, why would you? So how can you criticize a Vita, something that had a 2-year career, against something that had 5 to 6 plus years and they're still releasing ports and not even trying? Really? But yes, it's not just one, not just two, not just three. And then it gets even better. These people never even grew up with the console. Never kept up with it. So like, it is what it is. It really is. But me growing up with these different portable consoles like the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, the DS, the DSi, the PSP Go, or the Game Boy Micro. Remember they got me some micros, which where are they at? I don't know. I don't think we even got those no more. But seeing all that, how it was really, well, bringing portable gaming to here, or making sure you could fit things in your pocket, and then you get the fucking Switch, where you can't even get some exclusive third-party games in the damn thing. Everything's just a fucking port with questionable graphics at times, with joysticks that don't work. Never had a problem with that on the Vita with the touchscreen. It may be I'd rather have something be underused by developers than not fucking work at all. And I gotta charge money for something that's fucking broken that they still haven't fixed with the Switch 2. So at least with the Vita, I can despise Sony for giving up on it, but I can never say why. And they didn't try to put their best foot forward, and they wasn't just trying to recoup money from the Wii U. Nintendo don't have an excuse. They chose to fuse the two into one. Got all these games, still struggling, still having the same old graphics. It's not about the graphics. You don't believe in that. You don't believe that it's not about the graphics, because you switch up on graphics every fucking year. That will roast the game into oblivion before it even comes out. Because y'all didn't criticize the graphics of No More Heroes 3. Y'all gave that a pass. But when Kong Skull Island and many other games before they came out, y'all dragged that shit through the mud before you even had a chance to test or see extended gameplay footage. You saw a trailer. At least with a trailer can always improve. The Switch, it released, and y'all don't got an excuse. And with that release, with frame rate issues and patches. Crickets, right? Crickets. So yeah, I'd say yeah. The Vita did create my hatred for the Switch. I don't know if I fully explained it properly, but I don't like it. It is the epitome of Nintendo's laziness and not trying, and I never will try. Shout out to the Switch 2 and those slow buyers. They're never going to try. They're not. They don't have to. They got like 2 games in a fucking console, 2 or 3, maybe even 5, and the game just came out. I don't understand. It's only after the PS4 where everybody started to feel like a console will come out and not have any games. PS5, perfect example. Xbox Series X, perfect example. The Switch 2, perfect example. The game was announced, and only 2 games was announced from it. No third-party games. None. So you're just gonna be playing Mario Kart and Donkey Kong, with not too many games announced in the future. So there's no Wii Sports, there's no Wii Play, no. Just those 2? Really? Again, really. Being lazy. Again. Not even trying. Again. So it is what it is. But honestly, the Vita did create my hatred for the Switch. Because it's very funny, because at first, the 2 things would seem very unrelated. Because I really went into the Switch thing without any animosity or hatred, because what does Nintendo have to do with Sony? None. Those were Sony decisions to stop supporting the game. It was Sony decisions to throw in the towel. It was Sony decisions to charge to overprice the memory cards because some people were getting free games and using ROMs from jailbreaking their consoles. That was them. So with the Switch, a console that should have had every advantage since they got no competition. A Switch that should have had everything. Just a cornered market. They're a monopoly. They have no competition in it. They have none. Besides from phone games, they have none. And the best you get is a console with a bunch of ports They made you overprice for Joy-Cons that they probably should never add. But they brought the Joy-Cons back, guys. Why did they bring back Joy-Cons for the Switch 2 when most people don't use Joy-Cons? They just buy a Nintendo Pro controller. Why are you making people pay for technology that's not going to be used? At least some PS Vita games tried to use a touchscreen, especially if it's like a PS3 port, something like that. They had no other choice, right? The Switch, there is no reason for it to be Joy-Cons that's never going to be used by anybody. They're just going to buy a Pro controller. There was no other option with the Wii for the most part until like what, 1 or 2 years in. There was no other option with the Vita or the 3DS. So it's just, I don't see how when Nintendo has a cornered market with no competition, with no threats, with nothing, it turns into ports, Mario, Zelda, Metroid, and that's it. The same fallbacks that are going to guarantee sales. The same fallbacks are going to just do the same old thing. Y'all still, no, they released another Pikmin, but they still begging for another Metroid Prime. They still doing this so and so. They still getting upset. It's just like, it is what it is. At least when Sony fans get upset. Like, I haven't been like a diehard Sony fan since the PS4 came out. Really? I'm gonna have to pay for online? Really? What's the Switch you gotta pay for online? Why? Why does the Switch need to pay? Like, ain't nobody hacking no fucking Nintendo console like that. Like, stop. Stop. You're making people pay for online services for nothing. And how do I prove that? You guys remember like 2014, 2013, when GTA Online had that event and they shut down the PlayStation servers and the Xbox servers for both Xbox and PS3 and PS4? So I thought all this extra money would pay for security. What happened? Still getting the games? Niggas still hacking. What happened? So I'm paying all this extra money for nothing. Playing for all this cloud space for nothing. Why can't you just release a fucking console and it work and it comes out with games? More than 2 damn games. It made no fucking sense. At least immediately. It is what it is. But it's, I don't know, I had nothing else. So we're not gonna post up a fun video, but it's this. I do have a despise for the Switch. Cause it's the epitome of Nintendo being allowed to get away with anything. They'll never be criticized. They'll never be scrutinized. Like, I've been upset about the Switch since, what, 2018, 2019? When every year was a port. When you was to go by the Nintendo section in Walmart, every game, it did, like 98% of the games, 95, would be nothing but fucking ports of other consoles. This is 2 years in, 2019. What all these other games at? It take you 2 plus 3 years. Like, what type of game plan that you have for bringing out this console? You just, well, we're gonna have these 2 games come out the bat, right? Then we're gonna have guys wait 3 to 4 years. What do you mean wait for 3 to 4 years? What do you mean by that? If we're gonna port over Smash Bros, and we're gonna port over Mario Kart, we're not gonna get our own Mario Kart? Nah. Nah. Not even our own Smash Bros? Nah. Really? Yeah. You're gonna suck that shit up too, and take it. Don't you? It is what it is. But if you learn anything from today's videos, I don't like the Switch. I don't. Maybe because I grew up with better consoles, like the Game Boy, the PSP, or the Vita, DS. But it's just, DS games wasn't good. At least they tried. That Call of Duty may have been trash, but at least they tried. They tried. At least they made an attempt to do something outside of Mario Kart and allow other third parties to do something. They tried. It's the efforts. The effort, at least the attempt. Nah, just port. You already know if it's gonna come out on Switch, it's gonna be the worst version. Always the worst version. Wait, is it only bad when you go portable? Nah, it's bad when you plug the shit in into stationary mode. That doesn't make any sense. What's the point? Oh, now you see it. There is none. Hope you guys like the video, comment, subscribe, and I thought you guys would agree with me, but it's just, I've never liked the Switch. Never. I think fusing the 2 into 1 was always a bad idea. Because you're already limiting the system for making it portable. And now you're limited even more by trying to make it a portable in the console. Because as I was saying, and from that logic, stop trying to promote something with having the best graphics when you already proved that the best graphics don't matter. Stop trying to act like you're trying to compete and add better technology to be on par with your PS5 and the Xbox Series X when it's really just going to be a juiced up in between. I'm sorry, the era of the GameCube and the Wii for Nintendo is over. Don't need to try. They're not going to try. And all they're ever going to do is put in the most minimal effort. People are going to slop that garbage up. And life is going to go on. BMW, like the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace.